this series of webinars every fortnightly for last couple of months. And the objective of holding these webinars was to talk upon important topics relevant to the times. And before I go on the topic, I will talk about AHA for very briefly, because for those who are not AHA members or joined fresh, AHA, as you know, is the largest body of healthcare and hospital administrators in this country. The objective of AHA is to have health and hospital management as a specialty in healthcare, and the people who are managing hospitals should be from this specialty. Towards this end, AHA is having many initiatives, including the former programs of MBA, HA to PG diploma in many subjects, and quality management, to the need-based programs and MDP programs, which it is regularly organizing for all levels of hospital healthcare workers and managers. This webinar was thought, the series was thought necessary because of COVID times. We were not able to meet, and we wanted our alumni and our stalwarts to interact with each other and to keep the learning going on. So in this series today, we are going to hold a webinar on the modern marketing strategies in healthcare, which is a very important aspect and a good challenge. Before I introduce the speaker, I must tell you that this topic is important not only for the practicing healthcare managers, but also for the upcoming budding healthcare management students who are going to take up a career in healthcare marketing somewhere down the lane. Now, coming on to our speaker, esteemed speaker for today, Dr. Shinoy Robinson. Uh, you know him very well. He has held many important portfolios in healthcare industry over the recent decades. But I must tell a formal introduction that he is a qualified anesthesiologist. So, sir, I start from that base, because having a clinician sitting here with a management background, I'm a surgeon, sir. So I share the same type of feeling you are here for. So, so he is a anesthesiology from Granada Medical College, and he was at one point of time the CMO in the Delhi government. So that is from the clinical aspect and the management part. Then he moved on to hold many important portfolios in the private sector, being the ED in Global Hospitals, Group CEO in Apollo Hospitals, MD at Fortis Healthcare. Currently, he is the director of CATEX Healthcare, which is involved in providing consultancy in many ways to healthcare management, designing of hospital, building of hospital, healthcare strategy, all. And he's also the chairperson of the CIA Technical Committee on Health. He is an advisor on the board for Rishi University. Incidentally, Dr. Robinson, I must tell you, Rishi University was started as a dream project by Mahesh Gupta, who was 1 year senior from my college, PGIMS Rohtak. Mahesh was a very good friend of mine. Unfortunately, we lost him to COVID and other problems this year. But you are there, sir. And when he was there, we were talking about associating with Rishi University in some or other way. So, now coming on the topic, the challenges of modern marketing management. As you know, I will simply give a small intro, sir, because the traditional marketing is selling, and when we say modern marketing, we are going to talk about the win-win situation where the organization and the customer both goes in the benefit in a win-win situation, and it's a customer oriented where the healthcare system will gradually use some techniques, some tools to capture the patient persona, or maybe the other things, so that it is able to understand the customer very, very richly and optimize its marketing tools and the seven traditional P's of marketing as per the patient department. So now coming on to the methodology of today's webinar, the speaker will be given around 40 minutes time, sir. You will be given 40 minutes time to deliberate, speak, and anybody who has a question can put in the chat box at appropriate time. Someone from my team will put questions to him, and we have direct answers from him. If somebody wants to add a comment, he or she can write it or her name in the chat box that they want to give a comment. Towards the end, I will call them one by one to give some comments also. And from 4:45 to 5 o'clock, we'll have that open session where these comments and questions will be there. Over to you, sir, Dr. Shinar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the privilege of speaking with you today. Uh, I need to share my screen. Do I have screen sharing? My rights. Okay. Just getting my screen together. Okay. So, without wasting too much time, I'd like to thank all of you for sparing the time to listen to me. My 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 objectives for today is just to challenge our mindsets. So basically, I'm going to challenge. Can you see my screen? I just want to confirm that, Dr. Gupta. If you could help me, please. Is
Yes,
my
yes, yes.
screen visible?
Yes, your screen is visible, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I want to say that I would like to have an overview of marketing, the way it is done and the way it should be done, and where are the gaps. Basically, based on my experience of a few years of managing hospitals or advising healthcare. So three agenda items. We'll look at some of the mindsets that we have on healthcare marketing. We will refresh some basics of modern marketing. I'll probably focus a little bit on lead generation, patient persona, CTA, LTV, which is lifetime value of a patient. And then in case we get time, we can spend a little time on how to choose a marketing vendor or an agency. So that's the agenda for today. Let's move next. So what are these mindsets that I'm talking about? There are three that I come across, when I am talking to hospital management and doctors. And the first one is about the fact that should we market at all? I mean, should healthcare be marketed? Is it ethical? That's a big dilemma that a lot of people have. The other question that I find with a lot of hospital management is that marketing is a cost. It comes under a cost head. Is that really true? Is marketing a cost? And then if it is not a cost, then what is it? And last but not the least, I find this especially with my doctor colleagues. Marketing is simple. Yeah, there's nothing much in marketing. It's easy. Anybody can do it. So these are three common mindsets that I want to talk about today. And the first one is, should we market? Well, before we get into let's try and understand what is marketing. So my understanding, there are so many definitions of marketing today, but I try to simplify it and said marketing is a systematic, ongoing process. So it is systematic, it is ongoing, and it is a process. So it doesn't end. So there's no end to marketing, number one. Number two, what does the process achieve? It is supposed to find patients, attract them, convert them, and then retain them. So this is basically what we understand from marketing without getting into too much of jargon. So if we understand that this is marketing, then we go back to the previous question, which was, should we market? So a lot of us are already marketing, whether we like it or not. So one powerful tool that we continue to use in our marketing, whether it's an individual doctor, whether it's a hospital, is something that we call word of mouth marketing, right? Word of mouth marketing comes from the fact that you give the patient the best clinical care, you look after their interests, their concerns, and therefore they go and refer other patients to you. So that's what we call word of mouth marketing. So that is one of the most critical aspects of marketing. But are we doing it well? That is the question. So should we market? Yes, absolutely. Why should we market? Because the world has changed. Uh, there is a lot of noise in the market today. Patient behavior is changed. They are more demanding. The social media exists. They will go and Google things, and then when they come to us, we get upset. But then that's where we are losing out. The patient is not going to change. Uh, the world is not changing. Uh, Honestly, we have to change. So 20 years, 30 years ago, healthcare marketing was nothing. And then pharma came in and they brought in their practices into hospital marketing. But are they relevant today? Are questions that we need to ask ourselves. So the world has changed. Patient is demanding. There's a lot of noise in the market. There is social media. There's patient engagement. Uh, there is serious amount of money being pumped into marketing by a lot of companies, big major players. Let's say if you're a 100 crore company or a 1,000 crore hospital or 5,000 crore hospital, even if we put in 2% of our revenue as budget for marketing, that's serious money, right? So for 100 crores, it's 2 crores. For 1,000 crores, it's 20 crores. So if somebody is putting 20 crores in marketing, then I think we have a problem. Because if we are not marketing, our market is going to get wiped out. When we look at statistics, we see that there is a lot of demand, patient doctor ratio, hospital patient ratio is huge in India, a lot of opportunity. Despite that, we find that corporate hospitals, private hospitals are struggling. Some of them were struggling pre-COVID. Now, after COVID, things have changed a little bit, but the smaller hospitals are still struggling. And the question again comes back, can you afford not to market? That is the question that we should ask ourselves. Is it ethical? Absolutely. Marketing, there's nothing wrong with looking after a patient. There's nothing wrong with educating them. What is wrong is the way we market. Sometimes it is unethical. So those are the questions that I'm trying to answer here. Marketing is not advertisement. Market is not self-aggrandizing. So those are 2 or 3 things that MCI prohibits us, or National Medical Council prohibits us from marketing as doctors. So the question, should we market, should now be changed to, can we afford not to market? The second thing that I want to go on to is marketing a cost? Now, to me, marketing is not a cost, because if it is a cost, then this whole process, when we get into hospital management, we try to contain costs. And when we try to contain costs, naturally we look at budgets and we'll say, okay, last year it was so much, let's reduce it, right? So if you want to contain costs on marketing, what will it do? It'll actually slow down this process of finding, attracting, converting, and retaining patients. It may even slow down, it may even stop. So the question that we are talking about, that is marketing a cost, is really not true. Marketing is not a cost. Marketing is an investment and should be treated as an investment. Now, if you treat it as investment, then investment also has a return. So we should frame this into another question, which is, what kind of returns should we look for from our marketing? So it's all about return on investment. It's not a cost. It is a return. It is an investment. It's a short term, ultra short term, medium term, or long term. At the end of the day, there is a return that is expected. The question is, what is the return? Now, we can say the return is in terms of top line, which is revenue. The returns in terms of margins, which we get high value patients. The returns are in terms of patient retention. The returns are also in terms of patient volumes. So there are a lot of returns that we can look at, but what can we actually quantify, and what can we and how can we track the performance of our marketing teams? Those are questions that we need to ask ourselves. Are we doing a good job? Are we actually tracking marketing performance the way it should be? So further in this talk, I would like to shed some time on that. So my opening remarks basically were to set our mindsets into thinking that marketing is not a cost, it is an investment. Number 2, if it is an investment, then how do we track performance or return on investment? Now, I'd like to move this to the next level, which is, I see marketing as, adding value to a patient's journey. So the patient journey is very simple. Any patient has a problem, and they seek a solution for that problem. I have a pain abdomen. I want relief. I'm not able to walk. My knees are giving away. I find I'm breathless. I have a lump in my breast. There's so many things that patients have, and they look for solutions for that. So either the patient starts off with their journey by a problem and a solution for that. They look for that. The second thing could be that they don't even know they have a problem. You see, so that happens when you have screening camps, where people really don't know. So you go and do a ECG camp for a community, and then you find that there are lots of patients having abnormal ECGs, and they require treatment, and therefore you get patients from screening, so they didn't even know that they had a problem, or diabetes for that matter. So the patient's journey starts from there, and then they need to access a good doctor or a hospital. They need to take consultation, after which they have to go through some tests and diagnosis, come down to the hospital for treatment, or to the doctor. Then there is recovery, and then there is the long-term follow-up. So this is basically a patient's journey, which I've tried to make as simple as possible. Each of this has got further nuances. In today's session, we will not be getting into details of each, but this is basically what the patient's journey looks like. And when we look at marketing interventions, we are talking about each aspect of this. So, does marketing have a role when the patient is looking for a solution? Does marketing have a role when we screen them? Does marketing have a role to get patients to easily access the hospital and get a consultation with the doctors? Does marketing have a role for conversion into treatment? Does marketing have a role in recovery? And then last but not the least, does marketing have a role in patient follow-up? So primarily, if you look at it, every aspect of this is going to attract the patient, and every area, I mean, I don't want to get into the concept of moments of truth, but every interaction that the patient has with our hospitals or clinics or with us is a moment of truth for the patient. Either they add value, our interaction has added value to them, or it has added cost to them. So if you're adding value at every intervention, it is marketing. So honestly, when we look at marketing, we see that this marketing has a role in every part of the patient's journey. Now, based on this, I would like us to look at when I talk to hospitals, and sometimes, with C-suite people, when we talk about marketing, they seriously get into, what are we doing? So what they say is that, we are doing TV ads, we are doing this, we do that. I talk to doctors, they're doing outstation camps, we are doing screenings, we are doing health talks, etc., etc. So for most of the people, this is marketing. Then there is, of course, sales, which I don't want to get into. Sales is to do with, our referral sales, which is something which is beyond this topic, because I don't want to talk about referral sales and, our other areas of marketing. But this is basically what most of the industry thinks is marketing. But is it really true? Is this all that there is in marketing? These activities? The answer to, as far as I'm concerned, is that this is just one part of marketing. These are tactical things. When we look at marketing strategy, the question is, where are we going? What are we going to sell? Who are we going to sell it to? And how will we sell this? So this is not marketing. This is just tactical. First and most important is that when we look at any activity that you're doing, will you understand why we're doing it? Now, if you go back here, TV ads, do you really expect a TV ad to get you a patient? You put in a hoarding. I was asked this question in a board meeting a long time ago, that we are going to put in, let's say, 100 hoardings in the city. How many patients do you expect from that? A weird question. I don't expect even one patient to come to my hospital because I put up a hoarding. What does it give me? It gives me awareness. It tells people that I exist and these are the things that I have. But that does not give me a patient. So if you are expecting that from certain activities you will generate patients, then it's a slightly, let's say, optimistic expectation. So you need to understand that, or we need to understand that anything that we do basically has to have a purpose. And most of the activities can be, when we're doing marketing activities, can do two things. One, they can generate awareness, or they can generate leads. I know I'm moving very fast, but basically, I don't want to spend, I'm talking to very illustrious senior people in industry. I don't want to get into details, as I said, on specifics of each thing. I want to give an overview and look at the mindsets of some of the things that we are so used to doing. So when we look at marketing activities, there are two things that we can look at. One is, are they generating awareness, or are they supposed to generate leads? Awareness does not mean that it will generate a lead. And what is a lead? A lead is an inquiry. So when we look at our marketing communication, when we look at what we are doing, where do you think we are? Are we generating awareness, or are we generating leads? Is there a distinction between the two? It's a question that I would like us to answer or look at or think about. So to my mind, most of the activities that we do are to generate awareness. And there is a distinction between these two. And I just want to talk about just one aspect and the core difference between creating awareness and generating leads. Fundamental difference, which I would like us to think about. When you are generating awareness, the focus is on you, your hospital, your technology, your latest equipment, your experience, how great you are. It has nothing to do with the patient. And when it comes down to lead generation, the whole focus is on the patient and their problem. So let me explain this a little better. So if you look at our own websites and the kind of pamphlets we or any activity that we do, it's about selling our doctor. So we say, I'm the greatest doctor. We have the best team. We have this. We have that. I'm a patient. Let's say I have gallstones. Do you think I'm impressed by the fact that you have a modular OT, or that you have the best team, or that you do robotic surgery? It doesn't mean anything for me. All I need to know is I have gallstones. Can you treat me? And can you treat me safely? And is your treatment cost effective? So I have a problem. Do you have a solution for that? So our marketing communication, when it is to generate leads, has to be about the patient and their problems and not about ourselves. So if you are talking about yourself, you're creating awareness. If you're talking about the patient, you are probably generating leads. And this distinction is something that I would like to leave you with. I want you to think about the marketing communication that you're doing and where is it leading to. I find there are so many people who are disappointed by their marketing. They say, I spent 20 lakhs, 50 lakhs, but I'm not getting any patients. Doctors spend, let's say individual doctors spend 10,000, 20,000 a month. And they're very disappointed. I'm not getting any patients. My friends, if you are doing awareness, just awareness, don't expect patients. They won't come because of your brand awareness. They will come when you start doing lead generation. Now, when we look at lead generation, I don't want to get into details of lead generation today, but the first and fundamental thing that we need to ask ourselves is how much are we ready to pay for a lead? So we were doing a consultancy for a IVF hospital, and this was social media consultancy. And are you, how much were they ready to pay for that lead? One qualified lead was coming at 1,500 bucks. 1,500 rupees per qualified lead. What is that qualified lead? That means this person is interested and they have shown an interest and they are engaging with the hospital. That's it. That is a lead. And that lead costs 1,500 bucks. Now we are doing activities for 20,000 bucks and we expect that we will get lots of patient queries. And then we get disappointed. So the question is, we must understand the distinction between awareness and lead generation. And then based on that, we should look at our marketing strategy. So this is one aspect that I wanted to talk about. If I talk about lead generation, I said the focus should be on the patient. So the next question automatically comes is, okay, I'm ready to look at lead generation. So what are you talking about when you say the focus is on the patient? So the first thing is you need to know your patients. Every doctor's practice, every hospital, every department, every kind of surgery that you do has what is called a patient persona. These are the patients who come to your practice or come to your hospitals. Now, what is a patient persona? It's a common term that we use in digital marketing. I don't know how much healthcare is using it. But a patient persona is basically a fictional person that represents a majority of patients with similar characteristics. And what does it mean? It means that I am a doctor who's running a small hospital, let's say a 100-bedded hospital in a small town. My patients come from a certain category of people. So they could be from a certain class. They can be from a certain, financial background. They could be different genders. They could be of different age groups. They could have different activities. So if I'm talking about, let's say I'm talking about bariatric surgery. And the bariatric surgery patient could be, for us, when you look at it, it's an obese patient with a BMI which is more than 30 or whatever, 35, whatever you want to call it. But the fact remains, is that all that there is? So if I break down this patient persona of an obese patient which requires bariatric surgery, there could be a young girl uh, who's looking to get married and is obese. She also has POCD. So for her, your marketing community, she is, very active on social media, does not go to Facebook at all. And you are trying to say that this girl has the same persona as a 50-year-old guy who has got metabolic syndrome and wants and has to reduce weight. So two different one young girl wanting to get married wants to lose weight, one 50-year-old person having metabolic syndrome, diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, wants to lose this weight in order to live, and a 35-year-old woman who just has got kids and would like to get back her figure. All of them are different. And this is why I said it is very important for us to understand our patient, the patient persona, and based on that, we then look at our marketing communication. This is how we target. Now, how many of us spend time studying our patients, looking at our personas, and then tailor making our communication, our channels, which I will talk about in the next 10 minutes? How many of us spend that time? How many of us look at that and see where is our marketing going? And then when we say that our marketing is not effective, we have to look at the answers within, not outside. All our answers about why our marketing is not effective or my return on investment is not great rest with our own understanding of marketing and our marketing strategies. So I gave you a small example of how important it is to understand our patient and get their patient behavior. How do you do that? See, some of the questions you need to answer yourself is, who's the patient? Who are you looking for? This marketing campaign, are we going to target, young women looking to lose weight in order to get married? Let's say, for example. What challenges do they face? How do they make healthcare decisions? Who do you listen to? Who is the influencer? Is it their father? Is it relatives? Is it friends? Is it some film star? So everybody has some influencer, somebody who helps them to make their healthcare decisions. It is for us to find out who they look out to make their decisions. How do they make those decisions? Where do they look for healthcare related information? Is it from Facebook? Is it Wikipedia? Is it Google? So if you know all these things about your patient, then you can create your marketing strategy accordingly. So I cannot tell you how important patient persona is in effective marketing. How do you do it? There are some things that I'm going to, just you can do patient surveys, you can hire people to do patient feedback, market survey, patient interview, lots of things that you can do. I can show you a tool if we don't have time. Actually, we're running out of time. So there are tools that we use, which we have patented. So we can help you to make patient personas, but without a persona, your marketing is not really effective. So this is the first step. So after you understood the patient's persona, now you know where are they found, who are the influencers, how do they take information, how do they absorb information, and how do they make decisions. Based on this, now you will choose the channel which is most effective. So all the things that I showed you in a previous slide were basically channels to reach the patient. So which channel is effective? Will the same channel be effective for a 50-year-old guy as it would be for a 23-year-old young lady? Will the same channel be effective? It's a question you need to ask because it comes from the patient persona. So how do you manage channels? How will you reach them? How will you make sure that the channel that you use is cost effective? I'm just giving you a small tool that we use. Just there on your screen, it says these are the list of channels. So let's say this is the list of my channel, which I just showed you earlier: TV ad, radio ad, social media, health talk, screening camp. So you put it here in this. This is the list of channels. then you put it on a scale of 1:5. What is the reach of that channel for your patient? Is it 1 or is it 5? What will be the cost like? Is it personalized? Everybody requires personalized information. So these are some of the characteristics which help you to choose or identify an effective marketing channel. And then you can sort of total it down, score it, and then you will automatically know which channels are effective for you, for this patient persona. So these are some of the tools that modern marketing uses. Unfortunately, I don't know where healthcare is on this. The hospitals that I have worked with, or the C-suites people that I have interacted with, have little understanding of this. Frankly, they don't have the time for it. Now, as the time has come, where are you focusing? Do you really think marketing is important? So these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. Now we come down to communication itself. I told you earlier that the distinction between awareness and lead generation is who is the focus? Is it you, your hospital, or the patient? Now, if it is the patient, which you have come down to, then what is it that you want to communicate? When you look at your message, look at some of the excuse me, the pollution in Delhi is killing. So look at some of your ad copy and the marketing copy that you are using in your hospitals. See the amount of medicalese in it, the amount of medical jargon in it. I sometimes look at the websites, or I look at some of the things, and I wonder. So we have departments like colorectal surgery, and we say I'm the best for colorectal surgery. Come to us. How many patients know what is a colorectal surgeon here? What kind of diseases do they treat? I have hemorrhoids. I'm looking for a treatment for hemorrhoids. I don't even know who's this colorectal surgeon here. What does he do? So that ad copy that you write, the words that you use are very, very effective and powerful if you do them properly. So these are some points that I've written about what to communicate, how to communicate. This ad copy, when in my team, when they start writing ad copy for our clients, it can take them 2 days to write down 4 sentences. 2 days of a team of 2 or 3 people just writing down the right message. That's ad copy. That's 6 man days to just get the right words, which we think come automatically. So I think the industry as whole, our industry, the healthcare industry, needs to look at this very, very, very closely. How what kind of copy are we writing? If you are expecting doctors to write copy who have never been trained on copy, they will only come up with medical jargon. Nobody understands it. So these are some things that I've talked about. It's not about you. You must generate trust. Decisions that patients make are emotive. So you have to ensure that there's an emotive connect to your communication. We have to make it simple. Don't make the patient burn brain calories. Now, this is an interesting concept that came from a man who's written a best-selling book about burning brain calories. So if you expect the customer or the patient to burn their brain calories by thinking and engaging with your ad copy, then you are being a little, being a little naive, because they will not burn brain calories. It just takes them one swipe of the hand, to move on. So you have to burn the brain calories. Don't expect your patient to burn brain calories. So retentions are important. Visuals are very powerful. Keep the text low, etc., etc. So these are some of the guides that we have on marketing communication itself. It's a whole new work. It takes 2-3 days to do a workshop on this. So these are some of the things I wanted to know about marketing communication. Moving on. Now that the patient has come to your hospital, we have done a great job. The patient has reached our hospital. Hello, can you hear? Can you see me? Yeah. So the patient has now reached us. We did a fabulous job of, patient persona. We made the right channels. We ensured that the patient got the right message. Now they are contacting us. So this is patient engagement. Now, how do you ensure that the patient contacts you easily? And what are the methods that the patient can engage with your hospital or your clinic? something that you have to think about. So again, okay, I don't know, this is a little constant. I usually use so different ways of engagement, right? The patient can call you personally to the doctor, they can call the secretary, they can call a call center, they can SMS, there could be chatbots or smart bots on your website, there could be comments, there could be, all kinds of things are possible by which the patient connects with you. Now, is this engagement powerful and effective? That is the question that we need to ask ourselves. I have seen umpteen number of times in my experience where marketing was running a campaign and the ops people had no clue. So the patient would walk in and say, I've come in because of this ad that you have given. And the guy at the reception would say, or the lady at the reception would say, I have no idea what you're talking about. This is something which happens in every hospital every day. Where is the coordination? So engagement is powerful. They call up the call center employee has no idea about this campaign that is running. They have no clue. So my question is, if you want the engagement to convert into a patient walk-in for a consultation, you need to ensure that there is proper coordination, that there needs to be the quality of response, whether it is by a call center executive or whether it is the frontline executive in the front office. At the end of the day, it's the quality of response which will make sure that the patient, gets engaged and converts into a consultation. So you need to educate them. You need to answer their questions. You need to establish credibility. You need to reassure the patient that we are there for you. We are not trying to market and hard sell ourselves. We are trying to solve your problem. Remember, it was all about the patient and the problem. So engagement and conversion either into a consultation or into a treatment is totally dependent on how well our machinery is greased. So I'm emphasizing on some topics or some parts which I find are weak in our hospitals. So if you think that I'm jumping, it's because it's 45 minutes that I've been told, and I'm trying to cover a huge topic. And just talk about 4 or 5 things which I think matter to us. So when we are talking about return on investment, one of the parameters that I am interested in knowing is, apart from lead generation, is what is the conversion factor? How many inquiries converted into an actual consultation? And the next conversion is, how many of those conversions actually resulted in an admission, treatment, or surgery or procedure? So when you ask me what is the return on investment, those are some of the things that we should be tracking. And do we have an effective system to track it? That is important. How many of us have a training in a hospital where we train our staff to track this? How do we evaluate? Do our HIS systems work accordingly? So the process we have talked about, but the question again is internal. How seriously do we take our marketing? How seriously do we take our marketing? It's not that easy. I want to touch a little bit. I have about 5 minutes. So I want to touch a little bit on LTV. What is lifetime value of a patient? I was addressing a group of doctors, eye doctors last week. And we were talking about the fact that what's the lifetime value of a cataract patient? They have 2 eyes. At the end of the day, after both the eyes have been operated upon, what else can the patient give them? So I was just thinking that, how little we know about lifetime value of a patient. So lifetime value of a patient comes from different resources, and for different specialties, it's different. So I will not get into too much detail, but let me give you an example of lifetime value of a patient. Let's say you're a physician. And let's say, you charge this consultation fees and et cetera, this is your income. So you expect 4 consultations in a week from a patient. That means your consultation income will be $2,000 in a year. Let's assume that the patient's lifetime is 5 years. So just from consultation alone, you expect one patient to give you $10,000, right? And then if the patient refers 2 patients to you, maybe just 2 patients in a year, that's another 10,000 that they give you. Total earnings from these 5 patients is 1 lakh over 5 years. And this is geometric progression. So the power of what we call word of mouth marketing or engagement is huge. It can reduce our patient acquisition costs drastically. But the question is, we take this for granted that this will happen on its own. It's automatic. Unfortunately, in today's world, it is not automatic. It is not automatic. You have to ensure and invest in this. Now, how can you do that? I don't want to get into some, other. Let's say this was a diabetic. Now, if I was looking at a bariatric surgeon, then if earning from a single patient is 25,000 bucks, this is a doctor's component of the surgery. Then if from referral patients, even if you get two referral patients over 5 years, it's just one patient gives you about 2.5 lakhs. This is after they have given you 25,000 bucks. So your lifetime value of a patient is the most powerful thing as a tool for marketing for us. And we need to ensure that we are leveraging it. And how do you leverage it is by very simple thing. We need to ensure that we follow up properly. Now, on the follow-up part, we have so many things that we have to look at: adherence to instructions, education, reminders. Can we build dashboards? Can we monitor them? Can we do a teleconsult? So there are so many things that we can use in order to create a lifetime engagement with the patient. I'm just giving you some examples of what is possible. This is a kind of an app that Catex Health has. I'm not selling my app. I'm just telling you what is possible. So this is an antenatal patient. On the app, you can keep on giving messages every week. The messages are pertinent to that week, to that patient. And there are different visuals. So this is all possible. This is just for an antenatal patient. I'm just giving you examples of what is possible. Let's say we talk about gallbladder surgery. What cholecystectomy? Now you're trying to convert a patient. He has come to you. He's looking for surgery. He's waiting for you to give him that confidence that he should come to you for surgery. Now educate him. What is it? Why is it? So all these things are important. Post-op instructions you can give to the patient. This is what. How do you ensure that they take treatment properly, etc., etc. How do they ensure that they take their medicines on time, that they look after their skin, their incisions, etc., etc. All of this we need to provide them in a very simple manner. This creates education. After 1 year, we just send them birthday greetings. That's not enough. We need to find out how are they doing. How's their diabetes? How's their sugar? Did they come back to you? So we have to look at it from that perspective. Now you're saying that is not possible because there's so many patients. Of course it is possible. Use technology. Think about it. Everything is possible. Can we create personalized dashboards for patients? I don't have time to get into dashboards. Otherwise, I would have given you some concept of what a dashboard can look like, in real time. Maybe someday I will tell you about how to create dashboards for patients. So what I'm saying is to leverage lifetime value of a patient, we must ensure that we solve their problems, we enable them to live healthy lives, and we have to look at the patient as a whole. Please ignore this. This is for the eyes people. A lot of us believe that we are only one specialty, right? We forget that the patient is comprehensive. So a patient may be a diabetic, but he may also be having cardiac heart disease. He may also be having cataract. So if you ask them to download only a diabetic app, you're doing them a disservice. Will they have to download 3 apps to manage all their conditions? Can one app manage all the 3? Questions that you need to ask yourself. Is it possible? Of course it is possible. You have to have a mindset which works accordingly. So I'm almost done, and I don't want to take more time. There was one last question that I wanted to leave with you today, and that was, and this is especially true for my younger doctors. You are looking at choosing a marketing vendor, right? Now, based on your understanding, the vendor needs to know your subject. They need to be able to educate the patient. So they must have some clinical knowledge, or at least have some vague understanding of medicine. They should be able to write a proper ad copy, which we just talked about, that it should be emotive and things like that. They should be able to design graphics, even animation. They should also have some technology and health tech background. So there are 4 different types of skill sets that you're looking for in an effective marketer. And you're saying, and you pick up one small agency or one guy who's going to do a website designing, who's only a techie, and you expect them to have knowledge of all this. All this. And my question to you is, isn't that a little naive? That we expect one person to be able to do all this. So when you are choosing a marketing vendor, be careful. You need to understand, and they have to demonstrate to you that they have all this in-house. It cannot be that they have only one thing, which is that they can design a website and do some social media posting, and then you expect them to generate leads for you. It's not going to happen. Because they will need to understand, how do you write an ad copy? Who are you targeting? Where's your patient persona? Which channel is most effective? Where are they found? So what I'm trying to say to you at the end is, reimagine your marketing. Think, where are we today? I've tried to cover a lot of ground in this talk of 45 minutes. I've tried to hit on a few points which I think were important. I hope that when you go back to your hospitals and when you look at your own businesses, you will start looking at reimagining marketing, reimagining your strategies, and of course, we are always available to help you and support you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I will put the ball rolling in the discussion by asking you a question. In traditional marketing and modern marketing, when we study in the product industry, we talk of CRM. So are there some specific customer relation management tools or softwares available for healthcare industry?
So I would like to answer this question in 2 parts. When we say customer relation management, it's a very big thing. And technology, as I said, is just one part of it. So yes, there are a lot of tools that are used, right from Salesforce to even we have customer engagement tools as Catex Health. We don't market very aggressively because we are a little high end and high value. But the fact remains that yes, there are tools available. But it is for us, how do we use the tool? See, Dr. Ashish, you're a surgeon. You may get, a laparoscope from Carl Stores, but it's up to you. How do you use it, right? Yeah. So it's not about the tool so much as it is about our understanding of how we use the tool.
Right. Thank you. Anyone who wants to ask a question or comment, put a comment, can do it directly by unmuting, or I will call on Major R.K. Garg. You want to give a comment or ask a question to him? Unmute yourself. Sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I think it's Mr. Shenoy is a very interesting facet of hospital management. In fact, most of us are found wanting in this particular field. The marketing team works on a different tangent. The hospital management team works on a different tangent, and the 2 teams or the 2 areas, they are not aware of each other. In fact, we don't understand this. So I think it's a very, very interesting facet that we have covered in this webinar today. And as Mr. Shenoy has been mentioning, that probably he would like to, because in 45 minutes is very difficult to cover everything. So Ashish, I think it will be very interesting to, have a few more webinars dealing with this particular aspect, because most of the doctors who are in the hospital management are not exposed to marketing. And let me tell you very clearly that none of the corporate hospital can manage without having a proper marketing team. So I think that's a very important aspect for us to know how to market your hospital or how to market your team who's working in the hospital. So thank you very much, Mr. Shenoy. It was very interesting to hear you.
Thank you, Dr. Garg.
Yes.
I just wanted to say something that probably in another couple of months, we are launching an online training platform. We would love to coordinate with AHA. I did speak with Dr. forget his name. So we are going to do a masterclass on marketing, which I will personally be, doing on that, and it'll be more about practical aspects of healthcare marketing.
Okay.
So maybe a couple of months later, you don't have to do anything. You can just access the.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Dr. Arun Basu, sir, you want to give a comment, sir? I think he's not there. Okay. Anyone? Dr. Poonam, want to say something?
Okay, I would say that compliments to Dr. Robinson for such an excellent presentation. And what he's spoken about is actually true. We need to understand what patients we are catering for. Most of the time, administrators only look at how we are going to acquire patients by hook or by crook. And they're not going into the depth of it, because those are all the short-term, maybe thinking what they have, that as of now, this month, we must have these many patients. But marketing is not about that. Marketing takes time, and one needs to understand the patient's needs, and probably that is how we are going to attain customers. And an excellent presentation and a good revision for us. Thank you so much, Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Poonam. I have a question.
Yes.
How much are you ready to pay for a particular kind of patient?
We are doing a lot of it.
I'm trying to say, let us say you are looking for a lab chole patient. Ticket size 75,000 to 1.5 lakhs, depends on which hospital you are in. What is the investment that we are ready to pay to get that patient?
So maybe I would not actually give it to you in the absolute number.
No.
But I can understand one thing, because we really do invest in our company, which is Morpheus Healthcare. We are investing in a lot of IT technology in marketing, and follow up with patients, and keeping a specific staff to follow up with patients. As you said, like when patients when they are discharged, or when they go back after your treatment or whatever. So how we engage with them is also again important. It's not only one-time prescription we've given them, one-time treatment. It's the continuous engagement, and this is what we've studied also in our follow-up of patients, that word of mouth and patient engagement is something which really pays. So I don't know what absolute numbers for a lab chole would be, because I'm not the right person to tell you that. But yes, I can give you the figures of how much we are spending on doing the activities which our company needs to do.
So thank you so much, Dr. Poonam. My question was not really targeted in that perspective. See, let me give an example. I headed Apollo. In those days, we were having a ticket size for CABG at 1.5 and 1.75. We were ready to give 15K as referrals fees. I'm being very open about it. Now, for 1.5 lakh ticket, we were giving away 10%. And the cardiac surgeon came to me and he said, "Boss, I'm getting 12K for the surgery. 12,000 you're giving me. When I admit the patient, I'm post MCH 15 years. I admit the patient, I operate, I discharge the patient. I get 12K from the surgery. And the guy who's referring it is getting 15K. It doesn't make sense." So these are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. How much are we ready to pay? How much are we paying today? And how can we reduce it? That's why I said marketing strategy is an investment. Marketing is an investment, and then the ROI is for us to be, to think about and then come back with our own answers. So it was not really targeted, Dr. Poonam.
No, not like that. Not like that. Yeah.
And you're so right. We can reduce our patient acquisition costs dramatically and drastically by what you are doing in your hospital. So that is great.
Okay. Dr. Roop Garg, I think you are heading a hospital. Any comments or any questions to the speaker? Dr. Roop Garg?
Yeah.
No, sorry. It's your email. Okay. Dr. Lata, are you there? Dr. Lata Telan? Okay.
Hello. Yeah.
Yes,
Hello.
Dr. Lata, go ahead.
Yeah.
Give your comment.
Actually, an excellent presentation, I would also say, Dr. Shinoy. And of course, we are also facing the similar problems, which have been, and it's too difficult to um, intricate between the management administrators as well as the marketing. And again, another one is which is the software, right? Software you would like to, that is one of, because we are running a couple of institutions. So then, which will, you know, which will take all the institutions together. So we are also from our side, we are in a search of a good software which would help us, because at right now, monitoring all those is a very important aspect right now for anything which we can, whether it's the marketing, digital marketing, or whether it is the uh, administration. So just to cut down all the pilferages, if we have a good software and a good digital marketing, and we have a good monitoring onto all this, definitely it will help us to administer better.
Thank you, Dr. Lata.
Yeah.
Dr.
Thank you.
Dinesh Negi. Dr. Dinesh Negi, you want to make a comment? So I think there are no comments now. To sum up the things but I understand, sir, from your excellent presentation, some take-home messages I will say. We start with the, with putting this idea that marketing cost should be taken as an investment, and we should, of course, marketing is not only telling the customers what we are doing, but also getting the feedback from the two-way process, getting the feedback from the customers so as to, tailor make our services as per the customer need. And thereafter, the process starts with generating awareness, which it must lead to generation of leads. And we must look at the cost of lead generation. And then after that, the lead generation, we should also try to generate the patient persona, that is the imaginary patients, the type of patient, or their background, their paying capacities and their needs and all. Try to customize our 7P traditional marketing piece around that patient persona. And that will also help us in choosing the channels of communication, the content of the communication, and how to make it effective using more of visuals and not the words and all. And then we should have a message. I think that is a very take-home message, that do not expect the patient to burn the brain calories. So it should be coming very instantly to the patient what exactly we are telling them. The example of that hemorrhoid and colorectal surgery goes there to clarify that, and to engage with the patient in an effective conversation. And once we have made that patient, serve that patient, to develop a lifelong relationship with the patient by some tool, because lifetime value of the customer has also to do a lot of things with the future, business of the revenue of the hospital. I think with that, the word of mouth, again, we come to the starting point. The word of mouth is the strongest type of marketing tool which can be used in healthcare marketing. So over to you, sir, for the last comments, and then we'll close, sir. Over to you, Dr. Robinson, to close it.
Well, thank you very much, all of you, for your patience. I'm very pleased to be able to, make ourselves think. Couple of questions came up. One is that is there a software which helps us? My answer to that is, ladies and gentlemen, don't look at the software so much as look at what do you want from the software. Softwares are available, but softwares will only do that much. Look at people who have expertise in healthcare who are delivering software to you. This is my strong advice to you. Don't look at a tech solution alone. Tech solutions will not solve your problems. People with domain experience, those who have been there and done it, they will solve your problems because they understand the domain. A tech guy coming from outside does not know your domain at all, and they will learn at your expense. Even then, they will come up with half-baked solutions. So my request is look for basic solutions, something, and then co-create your own. I'm not saying you code the software. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying pick up a basic solution and then use that solution effectively. We do offer some solutions and we do some workshops once in a while. I personally do it, but for some time now, I am not doing any active work in India because most of my focus now is outside India. But we'd be happy to help you, and especially AHA if you would like to do a 2 or a 3 day course on marketing, because it's actually a 2 day or a 3 day workshop. We actually do strategy workshop for hospitals, and it's not simple. It requires people to think, but once you have the blueprint, then you can effectively give that blueprint to your managers to manage and monitor it. So the blueprint is very important. So two things: don't look at for a software, look at basic software. Number two, create your own blueprint. That's marketing strategy, and that needs to be 2 to 3 year. You have to look at 2 to 3 years, not 1 month or next quarter. Because when you get into next quarter to quarter monitoring, which is what private equity funds will tell you to do, and your finance guys will tell you, you will land up with unethical practices. You will do things which are not correct, and ultimately you'll simply spin around. So don't allow the finance people, and my full respect to all of them who are sitting here. I've had very good friends with CFOs and the private equity funds whom I advise. You have to stand your ground and say, no, we are looking at a 2 year window or a 3 year window or a 1 year window, not quarter to quarter.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Shinoy Robinson, for excellent presentation. For the members who are there and for all the guests who are there, I must inform them that next webinar in this series will be held on 27th of November. Login time is 3:50. The topic will be communicated to you through your emails and social media platforms. And in the end, I would like to thank my team at AHA House, my academic cell, Mr. Deepak Rai, manager AHA, who is in the background looking at the communications and organizing these webinars, to Dr. Shiven, who is the executive in the academic cell AHA House for the technical inputs, to Mr. Anjum, who is there for communication, and to see that everybody is logging on time. They are doing so much hard work there, sitting in the background, not coming on the screens. And finally, to all the HA members for wholeheartedly supporting this endeavor of this executive body of AHA to go ahead with these webinars. Thank you very much. The webinar is over. You can informally interact with one another. If you want. Thank you so much.